to expound their thinking and carry it forward. So I think that's how the transformation from a politician to a writer came about.
And from because you've written, books on federalism, so from then you move from non-fiction to fiction.
I started by writing on federalism, and that was essentially my experience with the 18th Amendment and in the context of Pakistan. And from there, then I started to write short stories, and the book Invisible People was the first collection of short stories which came out.
Well, I wondered, again, going back to the process of writing, it must be very difficult to make this. How did you find the difference in approach, difference in writing? On one you're drawing on facts, on the other one you're drawing on your imagination. What is the transition between the two?
I think I found writing fiction relatively easier.
Really?
For the simple reason that ever since my childhood, I was more of a dreamer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was less of a person of going into fact and being meticulous, although that is quite in contradiction to my profession as a lawyer. But nonetheless, I was always a dreamer. I would be imagining and looking at things and seeing how they could blossom out, or if I would see a particular person, or if I would see a particular scene, then for days on end I would sort of keep imagining it and try and grasp the nitty-gritty or the minutest details that were there. So I think that that initial exercise of my childhood sort of helped me a lot. And then I must say that my mother had perhaps a big hand in this as well, because she, during my childhood, made sure that all of the novels that in those days were considered to be classical novels, I would have gone through, and she would give me a list and then check it off, that have you read this, have you read this, have you read this. So I think that all of these factors put together made it easier for me to write fiction and to use my imagination, rather than to sit behind a desk, gather all the facts, and then to put them and marshal them down.
That's really interesting. So you actually grew up reading fiction.
I grew up reading quite a lot of fiction, and as I said, I had a roving mind, if you may put it like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, to go back to the novel slightly, you also, we've talked about the children in Aleppo and so on, but you actually look at how our own, the little boy who's had acid thrown on his face, the little boy who's had his limbs amputated. Can you comment on that? I mean, these are things that we should actually be tackling but haven't done. Can you comment on that and how that comes into your fiction, and how you think or hope that it will be able to?
Well, you see, if you, as I said a little earlier, if you look at these characters, and also, I don't know if you had the opportunity of reading The Invisible People, that was also based on children, or on wretched children, and that was particularly in the Pakistani context. And if you see these two also, the child whose limbs were cut off, we're talking about the jirga, and we're talking about how the jirgas function. and what are the, maybe an exaggerated consequence, but until and unless you don't exaggerate, you're not able to put it across. So I think that if you look all around, what I have tried to do is to pick up from what I see and experience every day in Pakistan, and try and put and show the contradictions within our own society.
Well, I think, thank you very much. Our time is up. Sadly, I could ask you many more questions. That's really very interesting and very illuminating. And it's a great book. Please do read it. Thank you.